Nope, I'm going to do this. Thanks, John. I didn't know, was I supposed to come up now? Is it? Okay. All right, I didn't know if there was something you wanted me to do. Okay. Well, hi. What a beautiful day we have. I mean, I wouldn't have shown up if it was snowing. I wouldn't have. Things would have been thrown my way. So no, it's a beautiful day. We drove up yesterday. What a beautiful drive, and had a chance to have dinner and spend some time and drive around the lakes a little bit. And I do get up here once in a while, but not very often. My parents' family cabin with my brother is over in McGregor, and so not too far away. But this is the fancy part of Minnesota up here. So you folks are lucky. So I am Belinda Jensen, and I am a meteorologist at KARE TV, KARE 11, the NBC affiliate in Minneapolis. I've been there for 32 years. It's been a great home for me. It's been a great place. They've provided me this beautiful stage to talk about weather, and talk about science and be a female scientist at a time when there weren't that many, and now there are so many, and so it's a wonderful thing that has happened with that. So I really appreciate them, and it's been a great career. I got out of the Saturday mornings this morning to come up to see all of you. So Ben Deary, one of my meteorologists, filled in for me, and Bobby was there, and Chris, and I guess they did dad jokes, and they were horrible. So I'm kind of glad I missed that. So it is great to be up here, and I appreciate John inviting me, and I guess I'm the first woman to do this keynote speech. So that's super fun. I've some big shoes to fill though, with, of course, Paul Douglas, my mentor, Joe Schmidt, and Don Shelby, and Mark Rosen, I guess, have been all the people that have come up before. So it's going to be way better this year, way better. So it is really nice to be here, and I appreciate you asking me to be here. And I'm going to start out, so a couple of things. I thought, what would I like to talk about? And I just thought I'd talk a little bit about my journey to where I am now, and kind of some funny things that have happened along the way, and some interesting things that have happened along the way as well. And vitamin N, vitamin nature works. The whole reason I am here, and the whole reason that I bet a lot of you live where you live here, is because of the fact that you're out in beautiful Mother Nature. And there's actually tons of research that has shown that if kids are outside, running around the woods, falling over logs, jumping over puddles, that their brain will work better. I interviewed a gentleman who wrote a ton of books about this, and he talked about the brain and how it's wired. And if you don't let kids get outside and figure out games, come up with things, make forts, they actually don't have executive functioning skills as well as if they're inside playing video games, not able to go outside. So I was born in St. Paul. We lived in Apple Valley until I was 6. And then my dad loved the St. Croix. And he spent a bunch of time there when he was a kid, and he wanted to live there. And so when I was in kindergarten, I was 6, my dad found this dilapidated house 4 miles north of Prescott, Wisconsin. And it was this dilapidated 23-room house on the river. And the birds were flying through it. I mean, it had a lot of problems, but he loved it, and he bought it. And my mom, we were talking about it yesterday. My mom was like, "Oh, that house! Oh my goodness!" And so I grew up just hanging out on the St. Croix River, and on our driveway was a farmer and another family with 5 kids, which was fun. So we had 10 kids on the driveway on the road, and we played outside all the time. And my mom is meticulously clean, and the house was clean, and so you're outside until Dad would whistle, and then we'd come home for dinner. And so thankfully, that's where I grew up, because that's the whole reason I became a meteorologist, is because I was literally out in the weather all the time. And it's not as easy to get kids outside these days. They work really hard on it because it really, really matters. And there's a bunch of elementary schools down in the Twin Cities, I imagine up here as well, that decided to just put the kids outside for a full day every week, like on Wednesdays. And it's really, really working. And so there is something about vitamin N. This is actually a picture of not my entire family. My mom and dad were married for 63 years, and they had 5 kids. I'm number 4 of 5. And this was a wedding that we went to out in New York. And so we were outside all the time, and a great big family living on the river in Wisconsin before I went off to college. And then they moved to Utah, which is also a great place to hang out outside. So that's where I grew up, and I went to Prescott High School. I graduated with the 100th class of Prescott with 86 kids. Small school, small place. And the only thing I wanted to do was get the heck out of there. You know, my dad worked in the city. I wanted to get out of there. There weren't any malls. There was no Target. There was nothing. And all I wanted to do was get out of there. And now all I would love to do is get back there. So it's kind of wild how things kind of turn around. And I look back at those times and those beautiful days outside on the river and think about that. So I went to Mankato first. I was the first kid in my family to actually go to a 4-year school. My sister went to Inver Hills Community College at first. She decided to be a flight attendant. All of my siblings have gone ahead and have degrees and advanced degrees. But I was the first one out of 4, so I wasn't sure I could handle a big school. And so I decided to go to Mankato, and then from Mankato I went to Wisconsin because I decided at Mankato that I wanted to be a meteorologist. I thought I could do it, and so then I did go to Wisconsin. And so from there I have to back up. That's the house. That's the house on the river, and that's my whole family there. And Jeremy, Dan, Ken, Sonny, the dog, and Renee, and me. And that's my dad. I lost him a year and a half ago. And this house was 74 stairs to the beach and 76 stairs to the garage. It was on the middle of the, embankment, basically. And we had to get on a toboggan to bring down the groceries in the winter. We could drive down to the house in the winter on the gravel driveway, but it was absolutely insane dangerous in the winter. So we couldn't drive down, and so we would toboggan all the groceries down. It was kind of a wild time, but that's where I grew up, and that's my dad, and that's our house. So that's it. Now I want to talk about this guy. So I went to Prescott High School, as I mentioned, and I had a great teacher, and his name was Mr. Gavin. And he loved my brother. My brother was really, really, really smart. My brother is really smart. And so when I got into his class, he taught physics. He's like, well, Belinda, he's like, you're not as smart as your brother, but I do think that you could do something in science. And I was like, oh my goodness, what are you talking about? And he said, you know what, you should think about doing something in science. And I said, okay, well, what should I do? And he goes, well, let's do earth science. You like earth science. I go, I do like earth science. And so he goes, well, why don't you write a term paper on weather, on meteorology? And and that would be a good thing for you to do. So the only meteorologist I knew back then, and this is in 1985, was Paul Douglas. And he was this young kid at KARE 11, which at the time was WTCN. And so I called him, and he answered the phone. And I interviewed him on the phone and quoted him in my paper. And then I got his job. So you just don't know. And I got an A in the paper too. That was kind of a nice thing. But no, it is kind of wild when you think about it. And so to this day, of course, people don't call anymore, but I do get emails and I get, messages from young people who want to get into science. And I feel as though it is my duty to make sure I get them what they need, their interview, whatever it is, because if he wouldn't have answered the phone, then there's just no way I would be here. And I would be in the KARE 11 backyard every night. It's because of Paul. Paul's the one who told him to break down the wall and go outside and do the weather outside, which is wild. and woolly, and the thing is people still don't think we're outside. I'm like, what do you think we have? We have like a wind machine, a rain machine. I mean, like, so I'm like, I'm outside. I'm wearing coats. I'm really cold, you know. And we're out there by ourselves. There's only a camera. There's nobody out there with us, and there's so many animals. I mean, over the years, I've seen, well, birds and owls and bugs, huge bugs, but possums, stray cats, raccoons. I'm really just happy that I'm the top of the food chain out there because I'm out there by myself, and it's a little bit woolly, I tell you. But so when I did that term paper in meteorology, I still wasn't sure I could do meteorology. But when I went to Mankato, I had this great counselor who said to me, well, Belinda, now you go and you take calculus and you take physics and you take chemistry and then you come back and talk to me. And then, so because people might think we just use a dartboard, but we actually have degrees in this. So, I mean, so we really did the math, you know, and the studying and all that. So, I mean, they have dartboards in San Diego, of course. They're either comedians or models. I'm neither. So I came back to that guy and I said, I mean, I had lost 20 pounds and, you know, I'm like, you know, I fell asleep on my physics book and I was just hoping that, you know, I would drool a little bit and osmosis would go in my brain. I mean, it was really hard for me, but I had some great teachers at Mankato, and I was able to get enough. So he said, yeah, you should go into meteorology, but then you have to leave here because there's no meteorology at Mankato. And so I did transfer to the big school of Wisconsin. And I was there with 26 students, and 3 of us were girls. So it was you know, a really unique time for sure. There are a lot more women now. So this is when I graduated from Wisconsin. Those are all my friends, meteorologists. The one gal on my left there, she's a pilot, ROTC pilot, but everyone else, a bunch of crazy guys. And I interned for Paul Douglas. So when I was a junior at Madison, I called him on the phone, and he answered the phone. And it's so nice of him. And then I interned for him along with waitressing at the Red Lobster. Because back then you didn't get money for internships, you got credit. But I spent that summer in the KARE 11 newsroom, and this was in the summer of '88. And so it was a heyday of television. I mean, back then there was so much money in television. We had reporters in every continent. We were, you know, in Berlin when the wall came down. Diana Pierce would go to Africa and talk about droughts and feeding people. We literally, it was an amazing time. Pat Miles and Paul Majors, and it was an amazing crew of very, very great journalists and a big newsroom, and I learned a lot, and I used to just like make some maps for Paul Douglas, and then I would just wait there to see if a storm developed when he went home to Minnetonka for dinner. I'm like, come back, there's a storm. He would race back in his little sports car. But he really is my mentor, and the only reason I'm here is because of him. And I know he has a cabin down the way on Pelican, and so he's a great guy, and I've had a chance to spend a lot of time with him and learn a lot. I really do think challenging yourself is really important. These are my best friends from Mankato, who I'm still so good friends with. They both live in Bloomington. Such good friends with, excuse me, and you know, challenging yourself, because I mean, leaving a small school like Mankato where I was doing really well, I was, you know, had friends, and I came from a small little high school, and then, you know, moving on and going to Madison, which is obviously a big school, and losing my GPA and starting over and going into science when I just didn't know if I could even do it. It was really, really a challenge. And then when I left Madison, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And so I applied, because of course, you know, these days when you're not sure what you want to do, you just apply to grad school, right? Let's just get more debt. Let's do that. And so I applied to a bunch of grad schools, and I actually got a scholarship, a full-ride scholarship, to be a meteorology student at the University of Utah. and they had a small group of college or meteorology students there, atmospheric science. And my parents, like I mentioned, abandoned me. I mean, left. Sorry, Mom. No, they left. I was at Madison, and my dad worked for Control Data for 26 years, and when that folded, he went to work for one of his clients, and they built a beautiful log home in the mountains. And so I applied to the University of Utah because of that, and I got a full ride scholarship. And then when I was there, I was watching television, and you know, if you've traveled a lot, and I'm sure a lot of you have, and you watch TV in other markets, and you're like watching these people like, oh my God, where do these people come from, right? Because you're so picky because you like the people in the Twin Cities. Well, hopefully, I guess you do. Hopefully you like the people in the Twin Cities. But you know, this market is a really strong market with a lot of competition and a lot of really good people. And so I was watching television in Salt Lake as I'm getting my master's, and I was watching all the channels, and one of the channels, the guy was good looking, but he had no idea what he was talking about. And, you know, I'd been a meteorologist for like 9 minutes, so I knew that, you know. And along with that, I'd worked at KARE 11. I was an intern, which was a big deal. So I saw the best. And so I gave him a call. His name was Dave. I gave him a call. I said, hey, he answered his phone. Hey, Dave. I go, do you need a producer? And he said, yes. I go, well, I'm a meteorologist. And I just graduated from the University of Wisconsin, and I interned at KARE 11 in the Twin Cities, and I could, come down. And I get down there, and he's a wannabe game show host. Literally, he is on the phone during the show, between the shows, with his agent, trying to get a deal, and he currently works on the Game Show Network. So if you watch it, he's there. His name is Dave Nemeth. So anyway, he's like, can you do all this weather stuff? Because I'm trying to get, okay. So I just was in the back with, you know, sweats on, you know, my hair, you know, making the maps, because I knew how to make the maps from KARE 11. And I wasn't supposed to have a job because I had a full ride. And you're not supposed to have a job when you have a full ride. At least that was the case back then. So I kind of had to be a little quiet about it. And they started, I worked, by the way, at the ABC affiliate in Salt Lake City. And that's a terrible place. Terrible station. And I'll tell you how terrible they were. In 1990, they didn't even have a morning show. So they launched the morning show. They do this big launch. They hire anchors and a weather person, another weather person. And here comes this guy named Steve from California. And so Steve comes in, he's super nice, and I show him how to do everything. And they launch the show, big deal, and he starts, and he's doing okay. And I work at night with Dave. And after 2 weeks, Steve doesn't show up. He doesn't come to work. And they're like, oh, because weather's kind of important in the morning, you know? And so they're in a little bit of a pickle. They don't have anybody to do the weather. So they grab the guy from the weekends and they put him in the mornings for a while. He's an older guy. He's a climatologist, great guy. But they, you know, he can't work all the time. And so they come back and they tap me on the shoulder and they're like, come here. Go in front of this green screen here. Can you do this? And I'm like, no, I cannot do that. Because when I was at KARE, I realized I did not want to be in television. I was like, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to get that master's. I'm going to be a teacher. I want to educate. I do not want to figure out the hair and the TV thing. And oh my goodness, no. And so they're like, well, we kind of need you to. So could you go like get a suit and maybe like cut your hair and can you fix your teeth? And I mean, and then, seriously. And then they said, well, and what do you want to be called? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, Belinda Jensen. It's kind of a long, I'm like, Belinda Jensen is my name, you know? So they wanted to change my name. They've done that. I mean, when I came to KARE, one of the meteorologists was Sonny House. I don't think his name is Sonny. His name was Steve Woolenhouse. And Paul Douglas is not Paul Douglas. Oh, breaking news. Okay, don't tell anybody. His name is Doug Kruhofer. Well, it's Douglas Paul Kruhofer. So he just, okay, don't tell anybody I told him. Anyway, so basically, they said, you got to do this. And I was like, okay. So I did buy a couple of suits, and I fixed my hair. I couldn't fix the teeth that fast. And then I showed up. And those anchors in the morning were like, who is this kid doing the weather with us? You know, they were all... And I was like, well, I'm sorry, they need someone to do this. So I started doing the weather in 1990 in Salt Lake City for the mornings. And it was winter, and it was December. And before I got on television live, they had me just tape a bunch of Good Morning America cut-ins. And they thought, if you can do 30 seconds, well, let's just do it a few times, and we'll take the best one, and we'll put it on TV. So they did those for a while, and then they launched me. Well, basically kicked me. Go, do this, you gotta do this. And it was a bad station, I'm telling you. They weren't gonna hire anyone else. So there I was day to day. I mean, no contract or anything. But then all of a sudden I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna be on TV, and those people at the University of Utah are gonna see me. Oh no. So again, I had to challenge myself and I called my mom and dad. I'm like, well, I have to give up my scholarship because I'm gonna try this TV thing. I called Paul, he answered the phone, and he said, well, it's Belinda, that's the 41st market in the country. That's a great market. You should do that. We're here in Minnesota. We're the 15th market in the country. It's based on the people and the demographics. So he goes, oh my goodness, you should totally do it. You can always go back to college and pay. I'm like, yeah, that's true, I could. So I did. So I had to really launch, and I had to just try it. And so I was doing the weather. Well, first of all, it was winter in Salt Lake City, so I was wearing a pantsuit. Well, they didn't like that, because it's very LDS there. They wanted me to wear a skirt, and they didn't like that I was wearing. I said, it's freezing, I'm wearing a pantsuit. Just stop with that, it's fine. But anyway, I'm doing the weather, and there's a big storm coming. And in Utah, when storms come, they're huge. You get 1 foot in the valley, 3 feet on the benches, which is the area around the valley, and then you get 6 feet in the mountains, and it's so exciting. And so I was so excited, one of these winter storms, and so I'm doing the weather, and I'm talking about it, and I keep talking about, well, the storm's coming in, and then it's going to be starting to snow around noon, and it's going to snow until 4, and then we're going to get, and I was talking, I just was going higher and higher and higher and faster, and I was never breathing. And so, my mom's at home at her house, and she's like, breathe, stop it, breathe, Belinda. And I'm like, oh, gosh. And so the news director, his name was John, what a wonderful man he was, he sent me to a school, a ballet school, and they taught me how to breathe from my diaphragm. He did that. And then he also got me a dentist to fix my teeth. So it was all good. They had to do something. So anyway, all these challenges, all these leaps of faith, I have to tell you, were hard and interesting, but it turned out okay. Well, I don't know if it turned out okay. These are my college friends from Madison. We're wearing the red. Go Badgers. So those were my roommates at Madison. I'm still really good friends with all of them as well. And so here I am, pretty early in my career in Salt Lake City. We'll watch a little. It's a little painful, but we'll watch it. I think it's going to work. You might have to hit it there, Logan. I think it's going to work. Hopefully it's going to. And then you're going to turn it up.
And as we start out taking a look at the United States for the last 12 hours, over Utah, pretty clear skies overnight, so we did cool down around 10 degrees cooler than last night, temperatures in the 30s and 40s. We have a pretty decent storm system that is developing off the west coast. It is going to affect the states of Oregon and Washington today with some winter-like weather, windy and wet.
So there were so many storms. I had 3 suits. It's crazy, the double-breasted suit is back. This was a long time ago, people. This was 35 years ago. So see all these storms and those ugly, ugly maps, and just kind of wild. So what happened was I started to kind of get settled in Salt Lake City, and I liked it. And I would call my mom after every newscast, and she was so sweet, and she was like my good #1 fan, and she'd tell me she liked my suit and my hair, and things were good. And then, after being there for a while, back then I would get letters. So I got some letters from people. And most of them were nice, but some of them were not so nice. They were like this one gentleman, he drew my hand on the letter. He goes, Belinda Jensen, you have 2 ways you use your hand. You do the point and the claw. He was so mad about it, he drew it out. He didn't like me at all. And then this one said, are you French Canadian? Where are you from? You know, and it was a difficult time. So I would just read the letters, and back then I was like, oh my gosh, and you get some really thick skin. And then people had to mail them, and they had to come. Now, like 1 second after you're off the news, you're like, oh gosh, I guess they don't like my new haircut. I mean, it's right away. It's like. It's not fun, but it is what it is, And I had, my mom, and I had a few friends, and they were nice to me, and it was all good. And then Paul Douglas called, and I answered the phone, and he said, hey, Belinda, they are starting, or they need a weekend meteorologist at KARE at my station. And I said, oh, no, Doug, seriously. I go, I'm just getting my feet wet here. People are starting to like me. And I cannot come back to the Twin Cities. I mean, first of all, it's a huge market. Second of all, I have like all these old boyfriends there, and I have, English teachers, and I need to continue here for a little while. And he goes, Belinda, this is the deal. He goes, just come and audition. You'll get a free flight to Minneapolis, you'll get to see your friends, and it'll be fine. I'll set you up, it'll be fine. So, on Friday the 13th, 1993, in June, I flew to I did my morning show, because I had to tell my news director. He's like, oh, you go have a good weekend. I'm not getting the job. So you go. So I did my show, put my best suit on, did my show, got on the plane, kind of fell asleep, kind of woke myself up. And back then, again, I told you it was the heyday of news, so my news director showed up in a little sports car and ushered me off to KARE 11. And they first threw me on a couch and told me to sit next to Eric Olson and do a little banter with him because he was going to be my Saturday morning co-host. And right away I sat down, and the couch was really bad and it had plywood. And right away I just ripped my nylons. I'm like, this is great. Oh, it was great. Just took those off. And so anyway, I bantered with him for a bit, and then they said, okay, now we're going to audition you. And I said, okay. So I was up on the weather for the Metro and all that, and so Sunny House left me 3 maps. Thanks, Sunny. So I had 3 maps, and I went in front of the board, and back then, Paul Douglas was in the backyard, but no one else was allowed out there. So I was inside on a chroma key. I changed that right away. But anyway, so I had my clicker and my microphone. And they said, well, you don't need an IFB, which is like the earpiece, so you can hear people in the control room. And I said, oh, no, I don't need that. And so the guy goes, all right, well, are you good? And I'm like, yeah. And then he's like, okay, well, they're watching, so just go. And then he went to lunch. It was lunchtime. And so I just started talking about the weather. And in June of 1993 was a really pinnacle year, because it was when it never would stop raining in the upper Midwest, and the Mississippi River and the Missouri River confluence came together, and in Iowa, towns became islands, and it was a really, really bad weather year. And so I had a lot to talk about with that. So there's nobody in there with me. I'm by myself, and I'm just going on with my stuff, and no one's telling me to cut. And so I found out later that in the control room, they had executive producers and general managers and news directors and all the directors, and they were watching me. And then they said, does she have an IFB on? No. Where's Jim? He went to lunch. Well, let's just see how long she goes. Honest. So I didn't know what to do. I wasn't going to go, and that's it. I just kind of, 13 minutes later, I got the job. 13 minutes! I mean, they said if she can talk 13 minutes and pretty good talking about this pattern and, whatever, let's just go ahead. So I got to KARE 11 September of 93. So here's one of my first shows there. And you might have to push that too, Logan. So I'm working with Rick Capcella and Roxanne Battle.
I put a coat on last Sunday. I had to.
Can you just pick red?
Fold in.
Cause.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just a little earlier in the tease when I said it's relatively warm for this time of year.
I heard
I
you
meant
say that.
relatively warm for this week. I didn't mean this time of year. The normal high is actually 46.
Oh, okay.
So we had them below normal. But in comparison to this week, today getting up into the mid-30s was relatively warm. And it looks as though we're going to stay a bit on the cool side all the way through next week with another big storm system heading toward us. Hey, where's the snow? Where are the flurries? Hey, well, I was just looking at NextRad, and actually most of this is not even reaching the ground. A lot of it's evaporating before it reaches the ground, but this is all light snow heading up from Mason City, Iowa, and heading up to the north.
Look
In
at that
fact,
radar.
Fox
Are
is
you
thinking
kidding
of
me right now?
that they're
Like, can
probably
you
gonna
even
be about 1
tell
to
what
2
is going
inches of snow
on?
before it's all
What
said
is
and
going
done.
on?
But if we
It's
get
the
it coated,
technology
we'll
was
be lucky.
pretty
And I
bad.
think the southern suburbs have
So
better
this
chances
is the
than
door
northern
that we still
cities of
have.
getting
Nothing's
that.
changed
And we're
there. I mean,
talking
except for a
a
bunch
light
of things,
coating
but
on the
that's the
grass,
door.
and that's all we're talking
And I
about.
walk
The
out
next
every
storm
night
that we're watching
and do the
very
weather
closely is
in the
going to be
backyard.
happening starting Monday night
Which has been
through Wednesday.
it's the best
Let's take a look at
studio
the
in
almanac
all
for
of
today. As I mentioned,
in all of weather. So that's for sure. I love the fact that I'm outside. And you know what? You have to be. There's full transparency in the KARE 11 backyard. I mean, if you didn't forecast rain and it's raining on your head as you walk out, you don't, or it's snowing, you better explain yourself. So it's been a great place to work. And as I mentioned, I've been there for 32 years, and it's been absolutely wonderful. Oh, and I'll pass on to the next one. So at KARE 11, I have been the Saturday morning anchor for all 32 years. So I'm the old widow. I've gone through 5 men and 1 woman who have been my co-anchors. So it's been exciting. Eric Olson, Frank Vassalero, Eric Perkins, Rena Sargentopoulos, Dave Schwartz, and now Chris Sarapsky. So a lot of anchors and a lot of fun. And KARE's been great because they've given me so many wonderful opportunities. And so one of the things that I get to do is hang out with Bobby Jensen. And 30 years ago, they came to me and said, we got this guy from Linder's, and he's a garden guy, and so can you go like make a wreath for him with Christmas? And I'm like, so I go to Linder's, and right away we start arguing, and we knew we'd be best friends, and he's this crazy Italian from New Jersey. And so we've done Grow with KARE for the entire 30 years. It's so fun. You can hit that too, Logan. Oh, Logan, can you hit that? Thanks.
Spider web kind of deal you got going.
So this is a younger one and very unique to Minnesota, Bob.
Right, this is an Acer rubrum Northwood, which is a Norway red. No, it's not. It's a Northwood red.
Bloopers, bloopers.
We're going to be on television.
See, I told you they're going to care about this. You can't just throw a garden in their front yard.
No, we got to help. Oh, they're doing it. Well, just hang out. They're taking care of this, looks like.
Fine.
All right, a little to the left. Move it that way.
Martha Stewart did have a lot of help.
Would you?
The Jensens, as I like to refer to them, did have some help along the way. Some were even furry. You'll see what I mean.
Okay, ready? Skip. Okay, ready? Dun, 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 dun. Happy Easter!
Oh my goodness, I think I almost broke that lily, that poor Easter bunny. It's a great franchise. We love it. Bobby and I love Bobby. My thumb is a lot greener than it used to be. I've learned a lot about gardening. We've had a chance to do it. We have one of the best franchise in all of Tegna, which we own 70 stations. So ours is huge. The Facebook group has 96,000 people, and it's been great. Everyone's kind of tried to copy us, and we've been just doing it longer than anyone else, so it's a lot of fun. The other thing that happened when I was there right away was Ron Shera walked up to me, and he's like, do you want to go fishing? And I'm like, well, maybe, I don't know a lot. Okay, sure. So basically, he wanted a token female to do all the sports he didn't want to do. So he hired me as well, and I got a chance to do Minnesota Bound. Oh, and this next one, there it is. All right, Logan. This is in southeastern Minnesota, fishing.
Not bad. Look at the eyes on it.
They're so red. Why are they so red?
I don't know. That's more red. He's mad at you. I think.
Okay.
Good job. Nice fish. Very nice. You like that minnow?
That's not me.
We're at Beaver Creek today doing some skiing.
That's me.
Resorts and lodges all over the country do all sorts of new things to attract skiers. And here at Beaver Creek, they've done two major things. They have a new technology center where skiers can go at
It's been great. You know, I had a chance to go to literally so many places in Minnesota that I never would have had a chance to do before. I fished a ton of the rivers and the lakes. I climbed an ice waterfall. I also went to Colorado a lot. I love to ski, so I kind of worked out trips to Colorado. I went to Hawaii once, and I released a turtle that was living at the Minnesota Zoo for his whole life, and I got to go to Hawaii and put him in the ocean. It was so cool. 21 years ago, I'll never forget that. It was my favorite story. It's been a great time. And then I had my two kids, and I got really busy, and so now Laura Shera took over that job for Ron. And so, but what a great opportunity for me. And let's see, go to the next video. Oh, and then in 2002, because I had roots in Salt Lake City, they let me go to the Olympics. So I was at the Olympics for 30 days. My dad was a volunteer driver. I got to spend time with my dad, and I got to do live shows with a crew of 8 in Salt Lake City. Go ahead, Logan.
I was able to go to an event yesterday, an actual Olympic event, guys. It was great. I went to the giant slalom. It was up in Park City, and it was a stellar day for the giant slalom. Just absolutely beautiful up in Park City, and it was very, very fun to watch. And of course, we had 2 people from Minnesota, Christina Kosnick and Sarah Schlepper.
It was so fun. I had a chance to go to one event with my sister. This was the event that I went to, and but report from downtown Salt Lake City, and it was a really, really interesting year. Lindsey Vonn was in the Olympics. She was 16. She was the only girl who finished the slalom that year, and her name at the time was Lindsay Kildow. She was married to her, or not married, but her name was Lindsay Kildow, and she was only 16. So I got a chance to interview her along with a lot of other Minnesotans that were in the Olympics and spend 30 days in Salt Lake City. And it was such a wonderful opportunity to be able to do that. So that's for sure. Now, the other thing I got to do is a lot of crazy things. So I was a huge Timberwolves fan. I'm still a Timberwolves fan. I did, keep checking on that game last night. I couldn't even watch it. I was so nervous. But for the first 10 years of our marriage, we didn't have kids for 8 years, so I worked every weekend. So I had tickets to Timberwolves. We had really good season tickets. So my husband and I would go to all the games. And this is when they went to the Western Regional Finals, and we had to play those damn Lakers. We're playing them again. Anyway, so I was a huge Timberwolves fan. And back in the day, Crunch, the mascot, they had an air crunch, which was like an inflatable crunch, and people were in it, and I got to go in it. And it was very fun. All right, go ahead, Logan.
Come on, you have to get moving,
I had to go to practice.
Oh my goodness, there's no time for laying on the job. Get up. Chief. What did you think? She's not bad. She's one of the best I've had in the first day.
This is serious.
It is serious stuff. It cannot be taken lightly. Do you need a towel?
I think meteorology is a little better than professional mascot.
Oh, come on.
So then I had to do it at a game. This is the NBA. So, this is the game. So I got to bounce people on the head. And then my husband was just there. I almost touched the referee. I didn't touch the referee. I got to go over, see all the, oh, yep. Spreewell bounces people. It was so exciting. They don't have air crunch anymore. That was painful. Oh my goodness, I could barely get up. Mom, did you even know I did that? I didn't think so, yeah. I didn't tell her. No one knew it was me, though. That was the best part, No one knew it was me, so much fun. Okay, we're going to go on to the next thing. So, you know what? When I talk to kids, and I do talk to kids all the time, and all 35 years of my career, I've had a chance to talk to kids. And what I tell them is, if you want to be a scientist, you can be a scientist. All it takes is curiosity. And so when I do these school talks, I was at Vadnais Heights just this week, and tomorrow I'm in Plymouth. One of the grandmothers of the Vadnais Heights kids is here, right over there. Hi. I had a great time. These second graders are great. I only talk to second graders because that's the first time they learn weather, and all the older kids scare me to death. So, I have my own to deal with. So I don't, anyway, so I talk to them. I do a experiments, and I talk to them, and I tell them, I go, if you're curious about planets, you could be, an astronomer. If you're curious about, dinosaurs, you could be a paleontologist. If you're curious about bugs, you could be an entomologist. If you're curious about whales, you could be a oceanographer. And then I talk about meteorology, and I talk about how scientists, for people, they think that they're these crazy smart guys, which they are. Thank the Lord we have those. And they're in those long white coats, and they're in laboratories looking in microscopes, and we have those people. And I go to the kids, I go, well, I'm a scientist, and I'm a girl. I mean, my hair was a little crazy when I was at home, but I combed it. I don't have a white coat on. Scientists can be girls, scientists can be boys, scientists can be athletes and artists and musicians. You just have to be curious about stuff. So I've had a chance to do that my whole entire career. And I think I've had a lot of people come and tell me that, hey, you talked to me in second grade. It's never fun when you're at the restaurant and the waiter is bald and he says, you talked to me in second grade. Honestly, that happened. So I've had a chance to get out a lot and talk to kids, and I so enjoy talking to kids. And along the way, I, of course, always remembered what was important. So I met my husband skiing in Salt Lake City when I was there. That's him, Dave. And then I have 2 kids. Tori's right next to me. She graduates from Benilde in a month. She has prom today. I'm going to run home to pictures. And then my son on the left is a Gusty, and I know there's a bunch of Gusties up here, and he graduates next Sunday. He's on the baseball team, and he's a great kid. They're great kids. So, the one thing about the career is the hours are horrible because we have to be at work doing the weather when you're at home. Otherwise, the equation doesn't work. So holidays, weekends, nights, it's really difficult. So my husband did a lot of that, and he's a professor at the Carlson School at the University of Minnesota, so he had more time. And I ran back and forth a lot, and my mom helped out a lot, and my family. And so I was blessed to be able to do this job because it's really hard for women. It's hard for moms. There's a lot of moms that don't make it. They can't do it, And so that's the one thing about the whole business. These are my kids. And a lot of great times. We're huge Twins fans now with the baseball and Tanner, so a lot of good stuff. And a lot of Bernese Mountain Dogs. So Stormy in my books is a Bernese Mountain Dog. So I also have had a chance to do a ton of philanthropy. Minnesota is such a beautiful philanthropic place that people volunteer so much. And my dad and mom have volunteered their whole lives, and they say that if you volunteer as a senior citizen, it does extend your life if you have purpose and you help other people. And I never could give as much money as I would want to, but I've had a chance to MC just a ton of events and do a lot of things in the community, and I really, really appreciate that as well. So that's one thing that I've had a chance to do. And then along the way, talking to all these smart second graders, when I would be talking to them, and if the light bulb would come on, and I could tell they were really interested, and all their hands would go up, I was like, this is kind of working. And I'd be just doing it on a chalkboard, So after a while, I thought I should write a book about it. And there was this one story about Joe the hailstone, Joe the raindrop that became a hailstone. And I went to a bunch of publishers, and they said, well, you can't just do one. You have to do 6. So I did write 6 books on weather, and so I've had a chance to go into a bunch of schools, and then I have my books, and Belle is a second grader, and Dylan is her cousin. I don't have a cousin named Dylan, but that's her cousin. And then Stormy is the dog. And what the purpose of the books is, in this 24/7 news cycle that we sadly live in, and I know a lot of you escape it by being up here, you're smart, but I'm a part of it, and the imagery is, if the imagery is really intense, it shows up a lot more, and so kids look at that imagery, the big tornado in Nebraska that killed people and wrecked an entire town. That video that everyone has a phone now, everyone has a camera, is going to be everywhere. And so kids see that, and they can't delineate between a gorgeous day with, cumulus clouds to a day where there's going to be tornadoes. And so kids get really afraid. And I heard from so many counselors and so many parents and grandparents, every time it thunders, my kid is so scared. And part of it's the 24/7 news cycle that I'm a part of. And one of the scared kids was my kid, because every single time it stormed, guess where mom went? work. And, Dave was okay, but not so great with a freaked out 3-year-old. So part of the reason I wrote the books was for my daughter, Tori. My dog was afraid of storms too. That's a whole nother story. And, but I had a chance to do it. And now it's such a wonderful thing that I've had a chance to go out in the schools and talk about it. And a lot of kids say, hey, these books really help me. Because the line in the books is, weather isn't so scary once you understand it. It's all about the nuts and bolts of the atmosphere. So let's talk about it and let's figure this out. So here is a trailer that I made. Belle is a lot like other 8-year-olds, hosting sleepovers, playing in soccer tournaments, and running around with her big dog, Stormy. But there's also something very special about this enthusiastic second grader. She's Belle, the weather girl. Belle is the one her friends all turn to when the weather turns bad. Whether it's talking about twisting tornadoes or to translate the clues in the clouds, Belle's mom, the meteorologist, has taught her a lot about weather facts, and Belle loves to share what she knows with her curious friends. Well, hi, I am the author of the Belle the Weather Girl book series. My name is Belinda Jensen, and I am a television meteorologist here in Minnesota. Well, I do the weather every night on a green screen, and I've been doing this for 25 years. So in the winter, I talk about blizzards. In the spring, I talk about severe thunderstorms, and every once in a while, even tornadoes. Kids are always curious about the weather, but what I have noticed in my 25 years is they're getting more and more afraid. You know what? Not only kids can be spooked by the weather, but dogs can too. This is Keena, which, looks a lot like Stormy in the Belle the Weather Girl books. And Keena is very afraid of storms. Well, whether they're fascinated or afraid of weather, young readers will love following along on Belle's adventures as she and her cousin Dylan come up with playful new ways to understand some of weather's wildest wonders.
I can't wait to show you how raindrops turn into hailstones, how to make a tornado cake with just the right ingredients, and the best thing is Thunder Chip game during thunderstorms. I'm Belle the Weather Girl, and I love weather. And I know you will too after coming along on my adventures.
So that's my daughter when she was a little girl voicing that. It's kind of wild that she's graduating in a month from high school. And that was Kenai, and Kenai was our dog at the time. And now we have a new dog, Coda, who you've probably seen on the Saturday morning show. And so writing the books has been a wonderful thing. I've really enjoyed that so much. I have a great team. This is my team of meteorologists. John Ziegler, Ben Deary, Jamie Cagle, and along with Laura Betker. Other than Laura, these 3 guys are all my interns. So I answered the phone. They became my interns. They're great guys. They went all across the country and did weather in a lot of places, and then thankfully came back home to be close to their parents and raise their children. And so that's the weather. That's my weather team. They're a bunch of great guys. And they're all younger than me, obviously. And they teach me so much because things continue to evolve and things continue to get better. And so these guys come in and there's like, well, we could look at this over here, and then there's this, and then there's this. And of course, when I was interning at KARE, we were literally using a colored pencil, and we were hanging maps on a wall. I mean, that's not that long ago. Things have come so far. So these guys have been just wonderful for me, and I appreciate each and every single one of them. Jamie does weekends, Ben works during the week, and John Ziegler is the crazy man in the mornings. He's a good guy. So that's my team. That's for sure. And of course, Laura Betker had a midlife crisis and decided to buy a peony farm, and she lives down in the southeast corner of the state and is raising her 3 kids so that she can be home with them and not work at night. And she does grow with KARE with Bobby now. So that's wonderful. So this is not a lot of people know this, but I am retiring from KARE a year from next weekend. And well, my husband is older than me, and he's going to retire, and I want to come up and live in the lakes, man, right? You guys are smart. And so I'm going to do that, and I'm looking forward to maybe writing more books, doing things like this, talking to people. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm nervous about it, but I'm also really excited about not working at 10 o'clock at night anymore. And being with my husband more, and my kids will be off to college, or Tanner will be home, and Tori will be off to college, and being able to travel and see people, and so I'm really looking forward to that. So it's going to be exciting, and I'm doing my last fair this year. I'm not going to tell anyone at the fair because I think it'll be like too much, but I'll be really happy driving out of Falcon Heights. I'll just tell you right now. I mean, I know the fair's nice and everyone likes it and everything, but not if you work there and you tell people to come see you in a barn. So you're basically an animal with a polo shirt in a barn, and you're telling people, come on, see us. It's not fun. It's really not fun, but it's been quite a deal. So that's all I have for you. Thank you for having me. And I'm 2 minutes early, which is good, so I stayed on time, John. Hey, if you guys don't mind, if you just stay seated, I want to take a selfie with you guys to show all your cute faces. I'll do 3. I'll do one over here first. Okay. All right, there we go, over there. Okay, now I'm going to do one in the middle. Okay, and then I'm going to do one over here. There we go. I so appreciate this. Thank you for having me. Oh, and who's going to prom tonight? I know you guys have prom too. It's going to be so fun. Have so much fun at the prom tonight. I know Mom and I would stay if we didn't have prom. My daughter has prom, so I have to go. But have a great night. Enjoy the weather. And by the way, Monday, very stormy. Moderate risk for severe weather. Not up here, but down in the city. So if you're going back to the city, beware. But storming everywhere. I told you first. Go Wild. Go Timberwolves. Have a nice day. Go Twins.